Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. You're watching Inside Art Live, which is the online extension of Inside Art, the International Art Industry Conference we organize during Art Market Budapest each year. In fact, now that we're approaching to the 10th edition of Art Market Budapest, which is to take place October 20 to 25 this year, we decided to do something special and established this online extension of our conference in order to celebrate this anniversary, this special anniversary with you, by introducing some of our best friends and partners of Art Market Budapest, people who are almost like special celebrities in the art world. In some behind-the-scenes, informal, casual conversations. I'm really pleased that Kamiar Maleki is available to join us today. For those very few who wouldn't know Kamiar yet, I have to tell you that Kamiar really is a true celebrity. Kamiar is known, actually very well known, as a passionate art lover for so many of us. And over the past couple of years, dating back to 2016, he's been proving to be a passionate art fair director as well, beginning with Contemporary Istanbul, and then picking up a new challenge with VOLTA Art Fairs just this past year. So I'm really pleased to introduce Kamiar Maleki, my dear friend and colleague to you. Hi, Kamiar, good to see ya.
Hi there, thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Everybody knows you as a person who's on the road all the time. We personally meet with you in close and distant corners of the world at art fairs. And it's quite unusual that we haven't seen you for the past months. How have you been coping, being stuck at one location for so many months?
Yeah, well, it's been an exciting but challenging time for all of us who have cabin fever, as we like to call it. I've been stuck in London for the last 4 months without being able to travel. But you know, with that comes the benefits of being able to do many other things that you wouldn't have had the time for doing when you're traveling. So I very much enjoyed this 4 months of staying at home.
Which is what we say very quietly, that we kind of enjoy the past months being able to do some sorts of work we normally are not able to. You're in London, right? Because you're sitting in the middle of this empire of all kinds of art fairs now, and people don't necessarily know under which country's COVID regulations you fall.
No, I'm London-based, London living for the last many years. So we run the operations from London, but we have fairs in New York, in Basel in Switzerland, and also now we're launching our third fair in Miami.
Yeah, that's something what we're going to get to a little later. And then you're also in a family of fairs that cover pretty much the whole world, which is also something we're going to touch up on just a little later. But as a part of an introduction, not too many people know that you're actually an art collector, which is quite a combination, being a collector and a fair director at the same time. Do you see this as an advantage or disadvantage? For example, when you have to be totally unbiased about selecting your exhibitors, what do you do?
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically, I come from a collecting family as well. So my parents have been collecting contemporary art for the last 35 years. I myself have been involved in the art world for 15 years, and then 5 years as a curator, and now this is my third year as a fair director. So in retrospect, it has many advantages because I come on the one side as a client, and galleries hate to say no to a client when the client comes asking whether he wants to exhibit or he or she wants to exhibit in your fair. So you can play a little bit of a devil's advocate in that format. But no, it's an interesting position because you do have those connections, and it does help when you're really trying to target certain galleries for your fairs, and it's certainly a blessing. One of the reasons I very much went into this fair director world and didn't become a gallerist myself is my relationships has always been with the galleries and with the collectors. So it enhances my relationships with them.
Right. As a collector, it might be a secret, so you don't necessarily want to share it with all of us. But do you ever buy at your own fairs?
No, I find it would put me in a difficult position because if you have in every fair you have 75 galleries, and you have to, you'd almost feel like you'd have to buy from all of them, and that certainly is impossible. So what I do try to do is make my friends and family buy from galleries which I feel that have a very good program that they should certainly look at. So in previous fairs, like in New York, some of my very close friends from New York bought from the fair, and other fairs my parents bought. So, we try to get all the visitors that come to show interest and to engage with the fair.
But then what happens if you fall in love with something you see? I mean, after what we do is that we work throughout a year to bring the best of what's available together. And and when you go see it, you just, what do? You just, don't look.
I might get my wife to buy it for me.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I'll go back home, tell my wife to do the same thing. I know, and I totally agree that the good thing about fairs is that when it comes to looking for a full circle of art experience, an art fair really gives you all of it. You can meet the artist, you can meet the gallery, you can do all kinds of stuff. When you first ended up being a fair director, did you have a model in mind, or a good example or best practice? Do you have a favorite fair?
I mean, favorite fair is very hard to say. Of course, Art Market Budapest is one of them. I had the pleasure of coming 2 years ago now, I think was the last time I went, which was great. And we had a great panel discussion there as well, which I won't forget. Look, the beauty of the business that we're in is we get to travel so much, so we get to see different experiences, and you just learn how to pick and choose the best of what you see at different fairs. Is there one best fair? Probably not. There are flaws in every fair, but oh yeah, there we go. That's the picture.
Right, that's actually you sitting in a panel discussion back 2 years ago.
Exactly.
It's quite a creme de la creme sitting there, right?
Exactly, with Scope and Sophie. That was a fabulous discussion. So you learn from all fairs you go to, and I find that right now there's going to be a heavy focus on the regional fairs and the satellite fairs. We're going to get a lot of exposure now because people are more interested to go niche and go discover.
Look, there are nearly 400 art fairs annually. I'm not necessarily talking about this specific year, but in most of the years, let's put it that way. And the question always comes up is whether there's an oversupply of art fairs. Some people even say that it's going to, paralyze the market. It's counterproductive. What's your take on that? After all, you yourself are producing 3 fairs. You're in a family of whatever 16 fairs. I mean, you're responsible for a lot of it.
Look, I find that if there weren't this many fairs being produced every year, there must be a need for them, because otherwise they wouldn't keep popping up. And as you say, we're part of a fair of 16 art fairs. Look, after this pandemic, there will be a consolidation for sure. I'm pretty sure that there'll be a lot of fairs that will suffer because of this. So it's very interesting that you just have to become more relevant. You have to. One of my key points is I want art to be more accessible. I want people to be able to discover art, to connect with art and the galleries and the collectors, and so you have to just make it much more curated towards the collector you're trying to attract, and that's what makes our job more difficult in the future.
Right. Especially since some say that one of the things our audiences might have learned over the past couple of months is that life can go on without dozens of art fairs every month. But then the other thing that I hear all the time is that the consuming art online is something people got totally fed up by now. So what do you think we've seen the negative consequences to art fairs of the whole COVID crisis. Do you think that there's that the lockdown had any positive impact? Maybe something art fairs might have learned from this?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the biggest things that we have learned, and especially not just art fairs, I think galleries in particular, is that people have been collaborating a lot more. People are collaborating with artists more. People are collaborating with other galleries more. When you look at online presentations, for example, from David Zerner, or now White Cube has done something with artists. David Zerner did it with galleries in different cities where they put their artists on their platforms. So, I see there's a lot more collaboration going on. Is the online viewing room the future? I don't think so. I think it will enhance our scalability throughout the year so that we don't just have to rely on the 3 fairs during the year, but I still believe that the physical fair is the future. People will want to come to the fair. People will want to engage with art. People will want to engage with artists and galleries. And in general, that's where you see the market flow. And, you can't really touch or feel that in your living room like we are now.
You spoke highly in a recent interview on viewing rooms that have been produced by some of the art fairs, including yourself, as a matter of fact. And I'm not putting any kind of blame on you for that, because we're doing the same. But do you not expect that online sales might take a market share over from art fairs? Currently, art fair is considered one of the most important platforms.
Yeah, look, it will certainly make it more accessible, but this is why I still believe that the art fair model is the way to go. So we're doing everything we can to enhance our art fair model physically rather than online. So online, we're just inviting exhibitors of the last year to participate and exhibitors of the future editions. So it's not anything like what you see with Frieze or Basel or things like that. But we still are trying to focus more on our physical fair rather than the online model at the moment.
Because it's irreplaceable, which is totally true. You mentioned cooperation, which is something that are very much welcome. And what actually, if I have to confess, that one of the features I most enjoy about your personality is your openness to share and cooperate. I believe that one of the lessons art fairs we're going to learn from the tragic past couple of months is to show more solidarity and initiate more cooperations. But honestly, I don't see too much of that happening. What do you think is the reason for that?
Well, first of all, it's already hard enough to run one art fair alone throughout the year. You're under constant stress, you're under constant travel and time restraints. People would rather like to focus on their own product than gear up and work with other products. But in our game, it's a little bit different. seen as regional and satellite fairs. And with that, you have much more opportunity to interact. I love going to regional fairs. I love going to satellite fairs because you get to meet new artists, you get to meet new galleries, you get to see different kind of experiences. And this was when I went to Budapest. For the first time in many years, 2 years ago, it was a revelation, and I met so many great galleries there, and I met new friends and old friends, and this allows us to collaborate. Of course, with GDRP, which we have now, which is the data protection, it's very hard to engage in a collector collaboration, but there's many other ways where we can collaborate, and I'm sure Art Market Budapest and VOLTA will do something very soon.
Where do you see the potential benefits of such a cooperation? You being a more cooperative kind of guy than.
Well, look, we're not. This business is not about competition. It's about enhancing each other's experiences. We have to collaborate. Those people that innovate succeed. Those that don't innovate stay behind, and they won't change. So in a time of crisis like this, you have to think outside the box and find ways on how to attract different galleries, how to attract different collectors, how to attract different people. And this is what you can do by opening up discussions. Will it always happen? No, not always, but you have to be able to be open to these kind of negotiations and to these kind of discussions. And this is what we love. And this is what I love to do best. I come from a diplomatical family, so giving back has always been part of my parents' teachings when we grew up. And this is one of the things that I put in force as a fair director as well.
Well, this is good that you're bringing the positive side of your diplomatic self into this picture, rather than what else is there. But when we talked a couple of years ago, just formally, you mentioned to me an idea that you had back then about bringing a loose network, something like a Star Alliance or a Relais Chateau or something like that of art fairs. What's the why don't you share? I mean, if it's not a secretive kind of thing, what's the idea with the rest of us? Because I really like the idea.
Well, the idea basically came about when I was still in Istanbul, and I was talking to the then director of the Armory show, and we were trying to find ways of how to get the best out of our both fairs. And one of this was, giving certain access to clients from Turkey, and him giving us certain clients from Armory, or the same was with go figure that I now work for the company that used to belong to the Armory, but so it was an alliance of connecting collectors, because Turkey had a huge area of collectors that were really, and still are, fabulous collectors, but people only know maybe the top five of those. In Turkey, there's at least 3,000 people, 4,000 people that have the capacity to buy art, but that they just don't have the access to it. They don't have the access to the VIP programs of Basel and FIAC and Armory. And this is what we were trying to. It's all about access. It's about providing that access to them, and that's what makes a good fair, is when you make art and the program accessible to those collectors. This is what it was initially, and then you could derive into various different variations of this, but it was more about a VIP collector exchange. And then you could talk about, we also in Istanbul, we created a program called Gallery Support Program, where we were supporting different art, where a sponsor was supporting different galleries from different countries. And this is also something I wanted to do internationally as well.
Yeah, well, my belief is that there's almost like an endless source of potential actors, buyers, collectors on the market. And there are so many places where there's a new generation of collectors coming out in emerging regions, but not necessarily only in emerging regions. And once we cooperate, there's a lot we can share without actually losing. So definitely have us on the list when you're going to pull the Star Alliance together, because we want to join, because that really is a great idea.
Yeah, I think there's potential in that, and we're looking into ways on bringing that up.
Because that's the that can be a very good tool in reaching out to new to new target audiences. And I totally agree that there's a lot of strength in a potential cooperation like that.
And then, for example, we could do with the collectors we bring to Budapest. We could do a dinner in Budapest with the collectors. There's lots of different exciting, or Budapest could do a dinner at one of our fairs in New York, Miami, or elsewhere.
Sure.
Oh yeah, oops, sorry,
Sure.
my boss calling me, so he doesn't obviously know that. Okay, sorry.
We're gonna switch him off on the other line. Don't worry. Not to VOLTA. VOLTA is an amazing story, particularly this year. I really see VOLTA Fairs as almost like a perfect representation of what is happening to us in the world this year, because VOLTA in New York was one of the last art fairs to survive and successfully be completed essentially minutes before the lockdown. And then you had Basel, which recently had to go down a drain, or up online rather. And we together, I think we all of us hope that VOLTA in Miami is going to be a victorious and lucky ending of this crazy year. So VOLTA really is almost like gives a cross section of what has been happening to us all in 2020. What's your take on the position, and can anybody win the year? Is there a way to come out as a winner of all these situations and difficulties and craziness?
Yeah, of course. You have to plan. I think the careful planning of a fair, or in our case, in our portfolio, we have 17, 18 art fairs. The management team has to do lots of different forecasts over the years and over the months and over the weeks. So we have to basically just plan. And I think, even with the fact that we had to cancel Basel, we're now fully fledged into launching VOLTA Miami, which we're excited about, and which is getting a lot of traction, both media-wise and gallery-wise and sponsor-wise. So you just have to be positive. I think positivity is one of those things that you have to have, and then you have to be innovative. Things like what you're doing now with this Inside Art Live is that you're engaging your community. Even though you don't have a physical fair right now, you're still engaging your community by keeping them interested, by keeping them active, by keeping them thinking about the fair. And that's all you can do, is by keeping, because we all get like thousands of emails. We don't necessarily want more emails than we already get, but we want to keep them engaged and keep them interested.
We still do, though.
So yeah, so hopefully, yes, we will have the fair in December. So we're all planning for it.
Actually, about this winning thing, what I see with VOLTA is that it seems that your escaping strategy in 2020 is based on actually going ahead even stronger and faster. You rebranded, you came up with a brand new visual image. You're actually kicking off a new fair in a way. So you're actually going ahead rather than sitting on your hands.
Yeah, so basically what the timeout has given us, I mean, when I first was hired, I was hired to be the director of the VOLTA brands and the director of the Pulse brands, which has been in Miami for the last 15 years. When we started, we had a strategy for both, but what happened is this time gave us, when we wanted to rebrand, which was one of my main initiatives coming into the company, we looked at the brand itself, and then felt that it would benefit Volta much more to brand as Volta, to strengthen the brand, to look at many different things, to look at the viewpoints, to create new taglines, which is of discovery, which is to connect, and which is to collect. So we really strengthened the brand, and now together with the family that we have, we can even go forward much more stronger.
Right. So some of the things you did this year were actually planned before.
No, they weren't before. They were planned as the pandemic happened.
Right. Okay.
We had different strategies. So we were still going to concentrate on New York and Basel for Volta, and then eventually we would do another fair in another city. But then we felt once the pandemic hit, it would benefit us, that we would create Volta Miami, and it would strengthen the core of the brand, because Miami is a place where, especially for sponsors, where you can entertain quite a lot.
Yeah, Alex is who we're on the same photo with of Scope, talking about Miami. If there's a person you want to talk with about Miami, is definitely Alex's. We might invite him as well. He's good to talk with. But going back to certainty and plans and all that, Volta used to be owned by a company that was more focused on property and services, which particularly this year seems like a more stable kind of background and a stronger market that survives even COVID. And now you're owned, by a company who does art fairs. How is Ramsey Fairs fighting the battle for survival in 2020?
Well, again, all fairs, big or small, have tremendous challenges that we're facing this year. The owners have had to make considerable concessions, but we've had to cancel a few fairs in the last 4 months. But hopefully, with the replanning and rescheduling, it's all about flexibility. If you're open to change, if you're open to new ideas, we're constantly looking at new ways to create new fairs, maybe not just in the art industry, but in different industries. So we're trying to be innovative. We're trying to see that we have these locations. What can we do with them? We don't want to lose them. We can, find ways to cope with it. And being part of a fair family is actually great, because if there's something I don't know, I can always talk to them. They're very open. They're there for you. They answer your calls straight away. So it's great to be there, because they have a strategy that maybe one individual fair owner doesn't really know. They have the experience of logistics, of warehousing, of this. So you have to strategize a lot. Like, one of the things we did is, I think we consolidated most of our offices, so we're all now working from home. And something like that, even for 6 months, saves the company a lot of money. So people don't think about that. But those are the things that we have resource to, and hopefully 2021 will be a very successful year for us because of that.
Interesting, because the ones that think more positively, or some of those who think more positively, even say that maybe this is the time for further expansion. Do you think Ramsey Fairs might have something like that in mind?
Absolutely. They're constantly looking to expand. They're constantly looking to buy. They're even for us, I know Volta, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, maybe we might add one more country to our list. So no, they're very adventurous. They're very now fairs are losing money now, so now is an interesting time. In any time of crisis, it's an interesting time to invest.
Talking about adventures, the Volta has been, with all of its locations, including the new one, a typical what we usually call a satellite fair. Big Daddy or Big Brother is there to protect you and to make sure that the visitors are invited. Talking about Basel. Basel is empty without the 100,000s that are attracted there to by Art Basel. But what's going to happen next year is that you have had the Armory show as the big one to be the satellite of, but they're going to move all the way to September, and VOLTA is going to stay in March, right? What is it? It's a vacuum you're going into. It's a challenge. It's an opportunity. How do you?
For us, it's an opportunity to, first of all, we highly respect Armory. We have a close relationship with them and their directors still, like I try to have with all art fairs. But on the other side, it gives us an opportunity to step away from being the little brother of Armory to be. It gives us a chance to grow in New York. So we've actually been discussing with Elizabeth D of Independent and some of the other smaller fairs to really try and create a sort of New York Art Week within that week, because eventually we believe that Armory will come back in the March slot. I think it's just now because they don't have a location, because the location is being renovated. So for us to move to September, which is a difficult month anyway in the New York calendar because it's Jewish holidays, it's Fashion Week. So it's a crazy. It's the first week where the galleries are having the shows. So for us, we feel that aligning ourselves with fairs like Independent will, give us a better stronghold in New York. And the March week is perfect for us because then we have a fair in March, we have a fair in June, and we have a fair in December. So it allows us the time to recuperate a little bit, to focus on the other fairs as well.
Now that you've learned yourself, head to a little more into the New York scene and the New York market. There's this secret, which I'm trying to figure out. Where does New York not have a proper photography show? I know Photo just failed or got canceled, but what we're going to see, I mean, they usually take a more conservative take on their fairs, but New York is a place that has everything, more or less, the biggest of everything.
I remember we talked about this 2 years ago too.
Exactly, and it's still lying there. What's the?
Try and do it, but I think FIAC picked us to the look. FIAC will do or it is Paris Photo will do a great job whenever they have the opportunity to do it. It's just unfortunate that it was right during the pandemic, so they couldn't host it. So let's give them an opportunity to do it and see what they will do, and then we can look at other competitions. But you're right, New York should have a very good photography fair, because New York also as a city is a city that's very photographable. It's there's a lot of influence there, whether it's fashion photography or or art itself. It's a great city that I'm beginning to relove again. I used to like it a lot when I was younger. Then there was a period not so much, and now I love it again. I love that city.
Well, I certainly can't hate it, because you certainly have to be there, a lot more than ever before. Tell me about the new location of VOLTA, because VOLTA has been struck with location issues over the past couple of years. Cursed, even canceled last year. Are you happy with the new place?
Well,
able to hold on to it.
It brings us back to our original state as a boutique art fair. We had 53 galleries there last year. It was on 2 floors. It was very well visited until Friday when the New York issued a state of emergency. And we wanted to be as close to Armory as possible. With 2 blocks away, people could just hop over and walk over to our fair. So it was a great location. We're always looking for new venues. We're always looking at new opportunities. So watch the space.
Yeah, it's actually very true, because when I raised the photography for idea with one of the leading galleries in New York, he actually said, and it's a gentleman he said that show me a good location and we're going to pull it together.
New York is very tough to find a very good location to host a big fair. That is the big problem, and that's why the Armory is always such an amazing place, because they have that much space to really do what they want to do, and it looks great. Last year it looked great.
Right. Back to Miami and the challenges that come with it. Turning PAS into VOLTA is more than just renaming a fair, because PAS has been, it has been a brand that has been built up, and it's it kind of falls into different kind of category in a lot of different ways. What are you going to do to turn PAS into VOLTA in Miami? You're gonna keep the galleries and pretend, or you're gonna change the composition? What's your approach to that?
So I always like to look at the positive. I like to say we're launching VOLTA rather than turning Pulse into VOLTA. But the idea is very simple. We're going to use Pulse's 15 years experience of grassroots connections, of collector connections, of being in Miami, together with the core values of VOLTA, which is to have great galleries present that really we're looking for curated edge on these galleries. So yeah, the idea is that we use Pulse's experience, put on VOLTA's curatorial and creative strength, and bring something fantastically new and exciting to Miami.
Although it's true that Miami is such a very peculiar case that you can sort of tackle it in all kinds of different ways.
And it's a city that you want the support of the locals. So VOLTA is always a fair about the locals. It's about the grassroots. So we're working with different outside possibilities as well. We're talking to the governments. We're talking to the local authorities. We're talking to the school boards. We're really trying to engage the local community. We also left South Beach, and we're going to be in Mana Wynwood, which is the heart of the art industry, or the art district of Miami. So we're really trying to, create our stamp in the new area.
So you're not keeping the location.
No.
You guys are doing a lot of new things this year,
Yeah.
which shows a very positive approach on this very positive basis. Which is what I really enjoyed to hear, because we're going to be in October, and we keep getting all these, to the level of frustration, we're getting all these worrying messages and questions all the time. Tell me now that the world is scared of the second wave of COVID, and also, Florida is not looking very good. Give us a positive message of how you think you're going to pull the first ever VOLTA Miami together.
Well, the first off, it is to the remainder is to be hopeful. That is always one of my messages I keep instilling in my team, and saying we have to be positive. We have to look at, until they tell us not to do it, we are going ahead as if we're going to do it. So the biggest thing that we're doing in our convention center is we're going ahead with all of the safety precautions. So we're going to have 3-meter wide hallways. We're going to have sanitizers. We're going to have masks. We're going to have, all of these kind of things present, so that people will be safe and secure. We are talking to local governments all the time. We're creating, a good gallery program. We're talking to the caterers right now. So the idea is really to go with business as if it was like, even with Basel, we were trying to do it without Art Basel there, and to see whether it was feasible. And then Liste is now going ahead with their fair in September.
Exactly. I wanted to ask, what do you think?
So, well, I think it's a very brave and very good decision of them, because when I was talking to her, I was suggesting that we should do it together, and then I guess our galleries didn't have as much faith as their galleries did. But they're also supported by the city, so it's a different, and it's a foundation, so it's a different ball game compared to a profit-making fair rather than a non-for-profit fair. But yeah, the idea is to remain positive and constantly. You'll have days that are frustrating. You'll have days that are positive. But we think that hopefully by end of August, the second wave should be hopefully over. That we can fully concentrate on December and be more careful. Will the disease ever go away? We don't know, but at least we have to try and be careful. Even if it is a small affair for Miami, we'll go ahead with it.
Cool. I hope that this message is going to go out to our exhibitors as well, and our friends and our audience. To wrap it up, because I've really enjoyed this, and you actually articulated quite a few of the messages that we're trying to put out there all the time. As a kind of a summary, now you're doing all these new things, partly because you're relatively new in your position. You're starting in a very unusual year, from beginning to end. And if we look back, if we sit here again a year from now, hopefully both of us on vacation rather than working, how do you think you're going to look back to this year?
I will say it's been a year of positivity. Even in all terms of crises, you learn. I'm very new in this business, so I'm constantly learning. If it's not recruiting galleries, I can always learn something else, whether it's logistics.
Or as they say in New York, what doesn't kill you
makes you stronger.
Well, we'll come back and try again later. Is what they right. Makes you stronger. But carry on, please.
Yeah, no. So it's a question of we have a small team here, so it's being more hands-on, learning more about the logistics, learning more about the signage problems and this and that. It's very much getting into the knee-deep dirt that we have to do on a day. It's not. Everybody might think running a fair is a luxurious and gratifying business. No, we have to do a lot of things that, as a collector, I used to take for granted when I used to go to art fairs. It's very hard work running a fair, so we appreciate it a lot more, certainly when we're in it ourselves.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Kamiar. It's been fun. Which is to be continued, hopefully, when you're gonna hop over in October.
For sure.
And and we're gonna continue our conversation. And for all of our audiences, you're gonna be able to meet with Kamiar again, hopefully in Budapest. So we both are inviting both of you.
Thank you.
And then make sure that you save the date October 20 to 25 Budapest. And you save the date December
1st to 6th.
December 1 to 6 in Miami. Sounds like a plan, Kamiar.
Thank you very much for having me, Attila. It's been great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Take care. Well, thanks a lot to you all. Thanks for listening to our conversation with Kamiar. And we're going to continue. We will continue relatively soon. I'm so pleased to announce that our next guest on Inside Art Live is going to be an amazing American museum director, the distinguished director of the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. I'm sure that it's going to be very interesting to listen to Mr. Alex Mierger. on August 6th here. And particularly because a lot is happening in America. There are challenges and there are opportunities, and even if we take the COVID crisis out of the picture, America is now a place a lot of us are looking at in the art world. So please welcome Mr. Alex Nyerges on August 6th. And as we stress together with Kamiar, please make sure that you mark the date for Art Market Budapest, which is October 22-25. And thanks a lot again for your attention. Thank you very much.